Hey guys, welcome to this session. In this session, we are going to cover a basic concept of the pandas and what are the basic functions around the panda libraries. The panda is a library provided by Python which is used for arith- arithmetic analysis and the calculation. In order to use the panda in your session, we need to import pandas. We could do this using import pandas, and this is alias because it's very inconvenient to type pandas each and every time. So we could use any alias, but since a PD is most standard, we are just going to use a PD. There are two important components of the pandas. The first one is called as a series, and the second one is called as a data frame. A series is a single column representation of the data set, whereas a data frame is a table-like structure. Let's go ahead and create a series. For this session, I'm using spider as ID because it's very convenient to show the internal representation of variables. So let's go ahead and run this. When I run this, you could see in the variable explorer, a variable name called my series is created, which is of the type series, and the size of this series of this variable is 2 because we have created only 2 elements here. Now if I double click here, it will show internal representation of the series. Now this is the index and this is a column. Now this looks exactly similar to the array. But then obvious question is, why should we use a series instead of array? Now there is a fundamental difference between a series and array is we could rename this index to the any name of our choice, which we cannot do in array. Let's go ahead and see how we can do this. So I'm just renaming this labels, this index with the label called first row and second row. If I run this, and if I see internal representation, you see the index is being overwritten with the new labels we have provided. Now we could access the each element of this series with the new labels we have provided. You see, if we run this, it will print the content of the first row. But please note, even if you provide a new label, you could still access the element with the index. This is of at 0 position. So if you run this, it will print 1, which is of course content of this series at the position level 1. Okay, so in the next step, we are going to see the another component of Panda, which is called as a data frame. So as I said, data frame is a table-like structure of the data set. Now let's see how we can go ahead and create a data frame. My data frame. We could use this name, but I would just use a very short name called a DF. PD dot data frame 34. Let's go ahead and run this. So if you see in the variable explorer, a variable name called df, which is of the type data frame is created, and it has a size of 2 by 2. That means a 2 row and 2 column. If I double click on this, you'll see this is how a data frame look like. This is the index and this is a column. Similar to the series, we could go ahead and rename the index. Let's go ahead and this is, so I'll just use this df, and I will just rename this index to first row, second row, and I could also rename my column name to first column and second column. Now if I run this, Let's go ahead and see how the internal representation of data frame look like. The internal representation of data has been changed to this way. Please remember, you cannot access a data frame similar to this using index. There are other function like ilock and lock is provided to access the content of a data frame. Now the next step we are going to see how we can load any data file. For example, in this case, we are considering a file name as a CSV file, which is a comma separated file, and how we can load that into data frame. So let's see how our data set look like. This is a data input data set for this session, which is a placement data, and it has a column of say serial number, genders, SSC percentage, HSC percentage, your degree, and salary likewise. So let's go ahead and see how we can run this, how this CSV data can be loaded into a data frames. So it can be done using a simple function called Panda provide very convenient function as read.csv, and then you could just provide a file name. In this case, the file name is datasets placement. There are many options available as you can see in this definition. But for this demo, we will just select very specific row. We'll just select a top 5 row. We could do this using a command called n rows. So we are instructing pandas to select only a top 5 row from this input file. Let's go ahead and run this. I'm using some other variable so that it does not change this df which we have used for which we have used for the creating a very basic data frame. So I'm using some other name as a dfn. Let's go ahead and run this. P dot and rows. And rows. If I run this, and if you see here in variable explorer, a new variable with the df1 is created. Of course, its size is 5 by 15 because we have selected only 5 rows and there are 15 columns. So that's why the size says 5 by 15. Now there are few important functions available. If you wanted to select only, let's see, if you wanted to select only maybe a gender from this data frame, we could do this using df1 and column SL number. So it should print all this. That means we are selecting all the rows in the column of serial number. Let's go ahead and run this and verify that it print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, that's absolutely correct. Now there are many functions available in the pandas in order to play around the CSV content, which we are going to see in this in the next session. If you have any question, please put in the description below and I will try to answer them. Thank you so much for your time.